Number 1. The pistol shrimp, nature's Blastoise. In the waters of tropical coral reefs lives a creature so powerful, it creates sonic booms underwater with just the snap of its claw. Meet the pistol shrimp, a crustacean that would give Blastoise and its water cannon serious competition. The pistol shrimp possesses one oversized claw that accounts for nearly half its body size, a biological asymmetry that looks like it was designed by a video game developer rather than evolution. This isn't just for show. This claw is a living weapon system that would make military engineers jealous. When the pistol shrimp wants to attack prey or defend itself, it snaps this specialized claw shut with such incredible speed, up to 62 miles per hour, that it creates a cavitation bubble. As this bubble collapses, it generates a shockwave that reaches temperatures nearly as hot as the surface of the sun, around 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and produces a sound reaching 218 decibels, louder than an actual gunshot. This sonic blast is so powerful it can stun or kill small fish from a distance, shatter aquarium glass, and is even loud enough to interfere with submarine sonar systems. Scientists have documented that colonies of snapping shrimp can create enough noise to disrupt underwater communication equipment. Imagine having a water-type Pokémon that uses hydrocannon not through water pressure, but by literally creating underwater sonic explosions. But the pistol shrimp's Pokémon-like qualities don't end with its attack stats. Like many Pokémon with unique evolutionary characteristics, if a pistol shrimp loses its specialized claw, something remarkable happens. The remaining smaller claw begins to grow larger, transforming into the new snapping claw, while the original claw position regenerates into the smaller feeding claw. It's like having a built-in evolutionary recovery system. Pistol shrimp also form symbiotic relationships with certain goby fish. The shrimp digs and maintains a burrow, while the goby acts as a lookout, warning of approaching danger with specific tail movements. This cooperative relationship mirrors how certain Pokémon are depicted working together in the anime, or supporting each other in double battles. The pistol shrimp's impact extends beyond its immediate hunting range. The sound produced by colonies of these creatures creates what scientists call snapping shrimp noise, or biological white noise that dominates the underwater soundscape in many tropical and subtropical waters. This constant background crackling is so prevalent that during World War II, it was used by submarines to hide from enemy sonar by blending into the natural sonic environment created by these tiny crustaceans. With its specialized weaponry, asymmetrical design, regenerative abilities, and significant environmental impact despite its small size, the pistol shrimp embodies the spirit of a real-life water-fighting dual-type Pokémon. If it were in the Pokédex, its signature move would surely be Sonic Snap, a high-powered special attack with a chance to paralyze the opponent. Number 2. The Axolotl Living Mudkip. If you've ever seen a mudkip and thought it seemed strangely realistic for a Pokémon, that's because nature already created its template. The axolotl, these aquatic salamanders, are essentially living, breathing Pokémon that somehow escaped from the digital world into our reality. Axolotls are neotenic salamanders, which is a fancy way of saying they're Peter Pans of the amphibian world. They reach sexual maturity without ever undergoing metamorphosis to a terrestrial adult form. They retain their juvenile features throughout their lives, including their external gills that look like fancy headdresses floating gracefully in the water. These feathery gill structures are remarkably similar to mudkip's cheek and head protrusions, making the resemblance uncanny. But what truly makes axolotls Pokémon-like is their near-mythical regenerative abilities that would make them legendary in any Pokémon game. Axolotls can regenerate entire limbs, parts of their heart, sections of their spine, and even portions of their brain, all without scarring. If a trainer's mudkip got injured in battle, a quick trip to the Pokémon Center would fix it right up. Axolotls just do this naturally, no Nurse Joy required. This regenerative ability is so powerful that an axolotl can recreate an entirely new limb in just a few weeks, complete with muscles, bones, and nerves that function exactly like the original. Scientists have even conducted experiments where they removed parts of their brain, only to watch in astonishment as the axolotl regenerated the missing neural tissue and retained its memories. Their healing factor would be an enviable special ability in the Pokémon world, essentially giving them a built-in recovery or synthesis move that works outside of battle. In Pokémon terms, they'd be water fairy types with an ability called Regenerator that would recover a significant portion of their HP when switched out. Axolotls also possess another Pokémon-like trait, unusual coloration variants. While wild axolotls are typically dark or mottled in color, captive breeding has produced striking varieties like the leucistic white with black eyes, golden albino gold with red eyes, and even the GFP axolotl, which has been genetically modified to glow green under blue light. These color variations mirror the concept of shiny Pokémon rare, alternatively colored versions of standard species. Native exclusively to Lake Xochimilco in Mexico City, axolotls have a restricted geographic range similar to how certain Pokémon can only be found in specific locations within their games. Unfortunately, this limited habitat has put them in extreme danger, and they're critically endangered in the wild, with some estimates suggesting fewer than 1,000 remain in their natural environment. Their population has declined due to urban expansion, pollution, and the introduction of invasive predatory fish, the real-world equivalent of habitat destruction that might be caused by a villainous team in the Pokémon universe. Despite their endangered status in the wild, axolotls have become popular in the pet trade and scientific research precisely because of their Pokémon-like qualities. Scientists study their regenerative abilities, hoping to unlock the secrets that might one day help humans regenerate damaged tissues or organs. Their popularity as pets surged after creatures resembling them appeared in games and animation, including Pokémon itself, creating a curious case of life imitating art, imitating life. The axolotl's perpetual smile, friendly appearance, and remarkable biological abilities make it not just a living mudkip but a testament to how sometimes the real world creates creatures so fantastic that even game designers couldn't make them up. Number 3. The Mantis Shrimp. Fighting type champion. If Pokémon had a fighting psychic type with maxed out attack stats and the most overpowered vision in the game, it would be the Mantis Shrimp. This coastal crustacean makes Hitmonchan look like an amateur with a punch so powerful it creates light. Let's start with the Mantis Shrimp's primary weapon, its specialized forelimbs that function as biological hammers or spears, depending on the species. The Smasher variety possesses clubbed appendages that they can accelerate at speeds of 50 mph, the equivalent of a .22 caliber bullet, generating forces of up to 1,500 newtons. That's enough force to break aquarium glass, crack crab shells like they're candy wrappers, and even split human thumbs to the bone if handled carelessly. When these clubs hit their target, they don't just deal physical damage. The impact is so violent that it creates cavitation bubbles that collapse to produce a secondary shockwave that can stun or kill prey even if the initial strike misses. The bubble collapse also generates sonoluminescence, actual light produced from sound, making the Mantis Shrimp one of the few animals that can create light through pure physical force. It's essentially using a real-life version of Mach Punch combined with Flash. But the Mantis Shrimp's most impressive Pokémon-like quality is its visual system, which would give even psychic types a run for their money. Humans have 3 types of color-receptive cones in our eyes, allowing us to see what we consider the full spectrum of visible light. Mantis Shrimp? They have 16 different types of photoreceptors. While scientists are still determining exactly how they process this visual information, these crustaceans can perceive polarized light, ultraviolet light, and colors we cannot even imagine. Their compound eyes sit on mobile stalks that can move independently of each other, giving them remarkable depth perception and a nearly 360-degree field of view. Each eye has 3 separate regions that can focus on different things simultaneously, essentially giving them trinocular vision in each eye. It's as if they have a natural version of the skill link ability combined with keen eye. Mantis Shrimp also sports some of nature's most vibrant coloration, particularly the peacock Mantis Shrimp, with its psychedelic pattern of greens, reds, and blues that would make any shiny Pokémon jealous. These colors aren't just for show, they use them for complex communication with other Mantis Shrimp in ways scientists are still trying to decode. Their combat prowess extends beyond their punching power. Mantis Shrimp are territorial predators that will actively defend their homes against creatures many times their size, including human divers who get too close. They've been known to attack with such speed that their strikes appear as a blur, seeming to teleport like a Pokémon using quick attack or extreme speed. If mantis shrimp were Pokémon, they'd have a signature move called Supernova Punch, a priority fighting type move with a chance to flinch the opponent through sheer concussive force. Their ability would definitely be something like Compound Eyes combined with Iron Fist, boosting both accuracy and the power of punching moves. What makes mantis shrimp even more Pokémon-like is their evolutionary diversity. With over 450 species, they've specialized into different types with various weaponry and hunting strategies, similar to how Pokémon evolve along different paths. Some are spearers with barbed forelimbs for impaling soft-bodied prey, while others are the aforementioned smashers that pulverize hard-shelled victims. Scientists studying mantis shrimp have had to develop special high-speed cameras just to capture their strikes, which occur too quickly for normal photography. These cameras have then been used to study other ultra-fast biological processes, meaning that mantis shrimp have indirectly contributed to scientific advancement, just like how fictional Pokémon often inspire technology within their universe. Number 4. The Tardigrade, the ultimate defensive Pokémon. If there were ever a real-life legendary Pokémon known for its defensive stats, rather than offensive power, it would be the microscopic Tardigrade. These tiny creatures, also called water bears or moss piglets, measure less than 1 mm long, but have defensive capabilities that would make Blissey and Shuckle look vulnerable by comparison. Tardigrades are arguably the most resilient animals on Earth, capable of surviving conditions that would be fatal to virtually any other living organism. They can be found in environments ranging from mountaintops to deep oceans, from tropical rainforests to Antarctic ice, essentially every habitat on Earth, similar to how certain legendary Pokémon can be encountered across various regions. What makes tardigrades truly legendary is their ability to enter a state called cryptobiosis, essentially putting themselves into suspended animation when environmental conditions become too extreme. In this dehydrated state, called a tun, tardigrades can survive temperatures as low as -458 degrees Fahrenheit, near absolute zero, and as high as 300 degrees Fahrenheit, pressure 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trenches, the vacuum of outer space with direct exposure to solar radiation, dehydration for up to 30 years, after which they can rehydrate and continue living, levels of X-ray radiation, 1,000 times what would kill a human. This remarkable survival toolkit makes tardigrades the closest thing we have to a real Pokémon with abilities like pressure, shield dust, and immunity all rolled into one. If they were in the Pokémon games, they'd definitely have a signature move called Cryptobiosis, a defense-boosting status move that would also heal status conditions. Under a microscope, tardigrades look distinctly Pokémon-like with their plump bodies, 8 stubby legs, and little clawed hands that make them appear like tiny pudgy bears stumbling through their microscopic world. Their round, segmented bodies with distinctive head regions could easily have been designed by Pokémon artists going for a cute but strange aesthetic. But what truly sets tardigrades apart in Pokémon-like fashion is their DNA, which contains a higher percentage of foreign genetic material than any other animal known to science. Through a process called horizontal gene transfer, tardigrades have acquired about 17.5% of their genes from other organisms, including bacteria, plants, fungi, and archaea. In Pokémon terms, it's as if they've naturally acquired genetic material from multiple different types, giving them their unmatched defensive capabilities. One of the proteins unique to tardigrades has been named DSUP, damage suppressor, which protects their DNA from radiation damage. When researchers introduced this protein into human cells in laboratory tests, those cells showed a 40% reduction in X-ray damage compared to normal cells. It's almost like tardigrades have a real-life version of the move Safeguard or Light Screen that they can pass on to others. Despite their incredible durability, tardigrades have their own weaknesses, just like all Pokémon do. They're vulnerable to predators in their active state, particularly other microscopic creatures like nematodes, amoebas, and even other tardigrades. They also can't survive certain specific combinations of extreme conditions. Their cryptobiosis has limits. After all, This gives them a balanced character design, just like how even legendary Pokémon have type disadvantages. Scientists have discovered over 1,300 species of tardigrades so far, with new ones being found regularly, similar to how new generations of Pokémon games introduce additional creatures to the Pokédex. Each species has its own specialized adaptations to specific environments, much like how different Pokémon evolve to suit various habitats. Tardigrades have even made it to the moon, due to a crashed Israeli lunar lander in 2019 that was carrying dehydrated tardigrades as part of a lunar library. There's a decent chance they survived the crash, making tardigrades potentially the first Earth organisms to colonize another world, a feat worthy of a legendary Pokémon's backstory. If tardigrades were introduced as Pokémon, they'd likely be bug steel type with the highest base HP and defense stats in the game, but very low speed and attack, a nearly invincible wall that would frustrate opponents to no end, especially with their signature ability, Cryptobiosis. This Pokémon cannot be knocked out by weather effects, status conditions, or one-hit KO moves. Number 5. The Japanese giant hornet, real-life Beedrill. If you thought Beedrill was just an exaggerated fictional menace in the Pokémon world, allow me to introduce you to its real-world counterpart, the Japanese giant hornet, or Vespa mandarinia, also known as the murder hornet. This insect is so formidable that if it were accurately represented as a Pokémon, it would probably be banned from competitive play for being overpowered. Measuring up to 2 inches long with a wingspan of 3 inches, the Japanese giant hornet is the world's largest hornet species, a distinction that would surely earn it classification as a pseudo-legendary bug poison type in the Pokémon universe. Its distinctive appearance features a large orange head with enormous mandibles, amber-colored wings, and a body striped with dark brown and vibrant orange bands, a color scheme that screams danger even more effectively than Beedrill's yellow and black pattern. What makes these hornets truly terrifying is their venom delivery system. Their stingers measure a 1/4 inch long, able to penetrate standard beekeeper suits, and can inject venom containing 8 different compounds, each with a specific painful purpose. Unlike bees, hornets can sting repeatedly, injecting larger amounts of venom with each attack. The venom contains a pheromone that marks the target, calling nearby hornets to join the attack, essentially a real-life version of the move Helping Hand combined with toxic. This venom isn't just painful, it's potentially deadly. It contains a neurotoxin called mandaratoxin that can destroy tissue and cause renal failure. Around 30-50 people die each year in Japan from these stings, giving these hornets a higher human body count than many apex predators. Survivors describe the sting as feeling like a hot nail driven into the leg, with pain that can last for days. If Beedrill's poison jab hurts in the game, imagine the real-world Japanese hornet's attack. But what truly earns these insects their Pokémon-like status is their coordinated attack behavior against honeybee colonies, known as the slaughter phase. When a scout hornet locates a beehive, it marks it with a pheromone that summons the hunting party. What follows would make a perfect animation sequence for a bug-type special attack in a Pokémon battle. A group of just 20 such hornets can decimate a hive of 30,000 European honeybees in under 3 hours. They enter a state that researchers call slaughter mode, where they methodically decapitate bees with their powerful mandibles at a rate of 1 bee every 14 seconds. A single hornet can kill up to 40 bees per minute. After the massacre, they occupy the hive, harvesting the honey and carrying off the bee larvae to feed their own young. It's like a dark nature documentary version of a Pokémon using fell stinger or X-scissor on a swarm of combi. Native Japanese honeybees have evolved a fascinating counter strategy that would make for an excellent Pokémon anime battle scene. When a scout hornet enters their hive, the bees don't panic. They spring a trap. Hundreds of bees surround the invader in a tight ball formation and begin vibrating their flight muscles, raising the temperature inside the ball to around 116 degrees Fahrenheit, while increasing carbon dioxide levels. This creates an environment that's lethal to the hornet but survivable for the bees, essentially a coordinated counter or heat wave move. The Japanese giant hornet also boasts impressive flight capabilities that would give it high-speed stats in the Pokémon world. They can fly at speeds up to 25 miles per hour and cover up to 60 miles in a single day. Their large wings produce a distinctive loud buzzing described as sounding like a large animal running that serves as a warning, much like how you hear the cry of a powerful Pokémon before encountering it. These hornets even have specialized nutritional needs that mirror Pokémon mechanics. Adult hornets cannot digest solid protein themselves. They bring it back to their larvae, which digest it and produce a nutrient-rich liquid that they regurgitate for the adults to consume. This complex relationship would translate perfectly into unique Pokémon evolution requirements or special feeding mechanics. If Japanese giant hornets were Pokémon, they'd likely have signature moves like Slaughter Phase, a multi-hit bug-type attack that gets stronger with each hit, and abilities like Scout Signal, which would allow calling in another Pokémon of the same species from the player's party. They'd be infamous for their combination of high attack, high speed, and devastating poison effects, the nightmare of any trainer relying on grass-type Pokémon. Number 6. The Mimic Octopus, Master of Disguise. If Ditto and Kecleon somehow merged into a single aquatic Pokémon with intelligence stats off the charts, you'd get something approximating the Mimic Octopus. Discovered only in 1998 off the coast of Indonesia, the Mimic Octopus Thamoctopus mimicus isn't just capable of changing colors like other octopuses, it can transform its entire body shape, movement patterns, and behaviors to impersonate other sea creatures. This medium-sized octopus, typically about 2 feet long, possesses an ability that would be considered almost game-breaking if accurately implemented in a Pokémon. It can study and then perfectly imitate at least 15 different marine species. Unlike Ditto, which transforms completely into another creature, the Mimic Octopus performs a more theatrical impersonation, using creativity and intelligence to sell the deception, more like a combination of transform and illusion abilities. When threatened, the Mimic Octopus can assess the situation and select the most advantageous disguise from its repertoire. Some of its most impressive impersonations include the lethal lionfish. The octopus stretches its arms out to mimic the lionfish's venomous spines, even copying its distinctive swimming pattern. The sea snake, by hiding 6 of its arms and extending 2 in opposite directions while adopting black and yellow coloration, it convincingly becomes the venomous banded sea snake. The flatfish. The octopus flattens its body and undulates over the seafloor, perfectly mimicking the swimming pattern of a toxic flatfish. The mantis shrimp. By raising its arms to look like the shrimp's powerful striking appendages, it deters predators familiar with the mantis shrimp's devastating punches. The jellyfish. The octopus pulses its body and trails its arms below like tentacles while floating through the water column. The Mimic Octopus doesn't just look like these creatures, it studies and replicates their behaviors, movements, and habitats. This would translate to a Pokémon with not just the transform move, but also the ability to gain the type advantages of whatever it's mimicking without fully becoming that creature, a nuanced form of mimicry that's more sophisticated than simple transformation. What makes the Mimic Octopus even more Pokémon-like is its intelligence. Like other octopuses, it possesses cognitive abilities far beyond what you'd expect from an invertebrate. It can solve complex puzzles, remember solutions to problems, and even appears to plan its mimicry strategically based on which predators are nearby. If implemented as a Pokémon, it would surely have high special attack and special defense stats to reflect its cerebral approach to survival. The Mimic Octopus's base coloration is a dull brown and white striped pattern that's perfect for quick transformations, similar to how Ditto's simple pink form allows it to readily transform into any Pokémon. But unlike Ditto, the Mimic Octopus doesn't need to see the creature it's imitating, it draws from memory and experience, suggesting an intelligence that would make for fascinating Pokémon gameplay mechanics. Scientists believe we've only documented a fraction of the creatures the Mimic Octopus can impersonate, with new behaviors still being discovered. This parallels how each new generation of Pokémon games often expands the capabilities of existing Pokémon with new moves and abilities. The Mimic Octopus also demonstrates regional variation in its behavior. Different populations have been observed favoring different impersonations based on the local predators and ecology, exactly the kind of regional adaptation that Pokémon games have begun to implement with regional variants. If the Mimic Octopus were a Pokémon, it would likely be water, dark type with the ability ability Method Actor, allowing it to temporarily gain the type advantages of Pokémon it's encountered previously without fully transforming. Its signature move would be Tactical Mimicry, which would change its appearance and grant it a type advantage against the opponent. The Mimic Octopus's preference for living in silty, cloudy water where visibility is poor enhances its deception, a real-world equivalent to the move Smokescreen combined with its mimicry abilities. This habitat choice suggests a level of strategic thinking about its own capabilities that would make for a formidable Pokémon opponent. Scientists studying this remarkable creature often note that the Mimic Octopus seems to enjoy the creative aspects of its deception, sometimes appearing to experiment with new forms and behaviors, a playfulness that matches the personality traits often assigned to more intelligent Pokémon in the games and anime.
Number 7. The Bombardier Beetle, Explosive Defense Specialist. If you've ever faced a Fire-type Pokémon with powerful defensive moves, you've essentially battled the Pokémon version of the Bombardier Beetle. This remarkable insect houses a natural chemical weapon system so sophisticated that it would make Team Rocket's R&D department green with envy. Bombardier beetles belong to the ground beetle family, Carabidae, specifically the tribes Braccianini and Pacini, with over 500 species worldwide. What makes them legendary is their unique defense mechanism, an internal chemical weapon that creates a controlled explosion they can direct at predators with surprising accuracy. When threatened, the Bombardier beetle mixes chemicals from two segregated compartments in its abdomen, hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinones. When combined with catalytic enzymes in a third chamber, these chemicals undergo a violent exothermic reaction that brings the mixture to near boiling point, around 212 degrees Fahrenheit, in a fraction of a second. The resulting high-pressure mixture of toxic benzoquinones is then expelled from the beetle's abdomen with an audible popping sound, often accompanied by a visible puff of smoke. This is essentially a real-life version of the move Scald combined with Smokescreen, creating a defensive attack that can reach distances up to 20 times the beetle's body length and can be aimed with remarkable precision in nearly any direction. The beetle can even rotate its abdomen 270 degrees, allowing it to target predators approaching from almost any angle, a targeting system that would be perfect for a defensive Pokémon's battle animation. What makes this defensive system even more impressive is that the Bombardier beetle doesn't harm itself in the process. The explosion chamber is lined with specialized cells that are insulated against both the heat and the toxicity of the chemicals, a natural version of the ability Flash Fire, which allows fire Pokémon to absorb fire attacks without damage. The Bombardier beetle's defensive explosion isn't just a one-time attack either. It can fire multiple rapid pulses of its chemical spray, up to 20 times in succession before exhausting its chemical reserves. Each discharge is accompanied by a distinct popping sound of about 100 decibels, making these beetles both a chemical and acoustic deterrent to predators. In Pokémon terms, this would be equivalent to having multiple PP for its signature defensive move. Scientists studying these beetles have discovered that different species have evolved specialized variations of this defense system. Some produce a fine mist, others a directed stream, and some create a wide spray pattern, variations that would translate perfectly into different movesets for regional variants of a Bombardier beetle Pokémon. The closest Pokémon equivalent might be Volcanion, the fire-water dual type that can create explosive steam, but even this legendary Pokémon doesn't match the precision targeting and rapid-fire capabilities of the humble Bombardier beetle. If created as a new Pokémon, the Bombardier beetle would likely be Bug's fire type with the signature move's Chemical Blast, a special attack that has a high chance of lowering the opponent's accuracy while dealing damage. Beyond its explosive defense, the Bombardier beetle also exhibits other Pokémon-like traits. Many species have distinctive red and blue coloration, nature's warning signs that telegraph their dangerous capabilities, similar to how many powerful Pokémon have eye-catching designs that hint at their abilities. Some Bombardier beetles have formed symbiotic relationships with army ants, living within their colonies and using their chemical spray to help defend the ants from predators in exchange for protection and food. A natural alliance that mirrors how certain Pokémon are depicted living in mutually beneficial relationships with others in their ecosystem. The Bombardier beetle's defense mechanism is so well engineered that it has become a topic of study for human applications, including pharmaceutical chemical delivery systems and fuel injection technology. Engineers have even created a prototype anti-theft device based on the beetle's spray mechanism that marks would-be thieves with an indelible dye and irritant chemicals. This real-world technology inspired by the beetle parallels how fictional technologies in the Pokémon world are often developed by studying Pokémon abilities. If the Bombardier beetle were to evolve as a Pokémon, its final form would likely gain additional chemical capabilities, perhaps developing a more aggressive variant of its spray that could cause burning or paralysis effects. Its evolutionary line might start with a small larval form with minimal defensive capabilities, evolving into the fully armed adult with its complete chemical arsenal, mirroring its actual biological development.
Number 8. The Anglerfish, Deep Sea Terror. If you thought Pokemon like Lantern and Lumineon were unsettling water types, wait until you learn about their real-life inspiration, the Anglerfish. This deep-sea nightmare factory would be an ultra beast rather than a regular Pokemon if Game Freak were committed to biological accuracy. Anglerfish are a group of fish belonging to the order Lophiiformes, comprising about 200 species that have evolved for life in the deep ocean's permanent midnight. Their most iconic feature is the bioluminescent lure that extends from their head, an actual biological fishing rod complete with a glowing bait powered by symbiotic bacteria living inside the bulb. This is strikingly similar to the light organs seen on Pokemon like Lantern and Chinchou, but the reality is much more sinister than the cute Pokemon interpretations. This living headlamp isn't just for show, it's a sophisticated hunting tool that would give any Pokemon with the move attract a run for its money. The Anglerfish uses its illuminated appendage to lure curious prey close to its massive mouth lined with needle-like teeth that curve inward, ensuring that anything that enters has little chance of escape. Some species have jaws and stomachs so expandable they can swallow prey twice their size, a real-life version of the move swallow with none of the setup requirements. But what truly makes anglerfish worthy of Ultra Beast status is their reproductive strategy, which reads like something from alien horror fiction rather than natural science. In many deep-sea anglerfish species, the males are tiny compared to the females, sometimes less than an inch long while females can reach 3 feet. These diminutive males lack digestive systems and survive solely to find a female. When a male locates a potential mate, he bites into her body and releases an enzyme that dissolves his mouth and her skin, fusing their tissues together. The male gradually atrophies until he's nothing more than a parasitic appendage attached to the female, essentially just a sperm-producing organ that provides fertilization when the female is ready to spawn. A female can host multiple males on her body simultaneously, some fused so completely that early scientists mistook them for strange growths rather than separate organisms. If this were implemented in a Pokemon game, it would certainly earn the franchise its first mature rating. What makes this parasitic relationship even more bizarre is that the male's eyes become enormously enlarged just before he begins searching for a female, giving him better vision to locate a mate in the darkness. Once attached, these eyes degenerate since he no longer needs them. This dramatic physical transformation would translate perfectly to a Pokemon evolution trigger based on specific conditions. The anglerfish's appearance is the stuff of nightmares, a testament to the incredible selection pressures of the deep sea. Their bodies are often globular with enormous crescent-shaped mouths filled with transparent fang-like teeth. Their skin can be loose and scaleless, often covered in spines or wart-like protuberances. Many species have expandable stomachs and jaw structures that can unhinge to accommodate outsized prey. In the Pokemon world, they'd surely be dark water type with the highest attack stat in their category. Some anglerfish have evolved additional sensory adaptations to compensate for the eternal darkness of their habitat. Certain species have elongated fin rays that function like fingers, allowing them to walk along the seafloor and sense their surroundings through touch. Others have developed pressure-sensitive lateral lines that can detect the slightest movement in the surrounding water, akin to a combination of the moves detect and anticipation as passive abilities. The bioluminescent lure itself varies widely between species, with some having multiple light organs or elaborate structures resembling small fish or crustaceans. The bacteria housed within these lures have co-evolved with their hosts, developing a symbiotic relationship where the bacteria receive nutrients and protection while the anglerfish gets its living lantern.
This mutualistic relationship would make for a fascinating Pokémon ability, perhaps called symbiotic glow, that becomes stronger with each turn. If anglerfish were Pokémon, they'd likely have a signature move called Abyssal Lure that combines the effects of Attract with False Swipe, bringing the opponent's HP low while preventing escape. Their ability would certainly be something like Pressure Adapt, allowing them to function without penalty in extreme environments. The anglerfish's incredibly efficient metabolism, an adaptation to the food scarcity of the deep sea, would translate to a high HP stat despite their relatively slow speed. Some species can go months without eating after consuming a large meal, conserving energy by remaining motionless for long periods, a real-life equivalent to the rest move without the associated vulnerability. Female anglerfish also produce large gelatinous egg rafts that float to the surface, allowing their offspring to develop in the more resource-rich shallow waters before descending to the depths as they mature. This complex life cycle would make for an interesting evolution mechanic in a Pokémon game, perhaps requiring leveling up in different locations to trigger evolution.
Number 9. The electric eel, nature's Pikachu. While Pikachu may be the most recognizable electric-type Pokémon, the Amazon basin has been home to its real-life counterpart for millions of years, the electric eel. Despite its name, this remarkable creature isn't actually an eel at all, but rather a type of knifefish related to catfish and carp. But what truly makes it Pokémon-like is its ability to generate and discharge electricity with precision and control that would make any electric type jealous. The electric eel, Electrophorus electricus, possesses 3 specialized electric organs, the main organ, Hunter's organ, and Sax's organ, that make up approximately 80% of its body. These organs contain thousands of modified muscle cells called electrocytes that function like tiny biological batteries. When activated, these cells create an electrical discharge that can reach up to 860 volts with a current of 1 ampere, 5 times the voltage from a standard wall outlet, and enough to power multiple light bulbs. Unlike fictional electric Pokémon that seem to generate electricity through magic or undefined means, the electric eel's system is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Each electroplate cell pumps ions to create a voltage difference across its membrane. When the eel wants to generate electricity, its brain sends a signal causing all these cells to activate simultaneously, adding their voltages together in series like batteries in a flashlight, a perfect real-world example of the move, charge followed by discharge or thunderbolt. What makes electric eels even more impressive is their sophisticated control over this system. They can vary the intensity of their electrical discharge for different purposes. Low-voltage pulses around 10 volts act as a specialized sensory system, creating an electrical field that detects nearby objects and prey, essentially a biological radar system similar to Pikachu's ability to sense electrical fields. Medium-voltage pulses function as a hunting tool, causing involuntary muscle contractions in nearby prey fish, essentially paralyzing them, a real-life thunderwave attack. High-voltage discharges serve as powerful defensive weapons capable of deterring predators like caimans, jaguars, and humans, the equivalent of a full-power thunder attack. The electric eel can generate these pulses at a frequency of 400-500 discharges per second, creating both continuous and intermittent patterns depending on the situation. This precise control would translate to a diverse move pool in the Pokémon world, with various electric attacks at different power levels and effects. Scientists studying electric eels have discovered that they use their electrical abilities in even more sophisticated ways than previously thought. When hunting, they can perform a double-tit attack, 2 rapid high-voltage pulses that cause prey to twitch, revealing their location. Once the prey is located, the eel will often curl its body to create an electrical field that forces the prey into a predictable escape route, right into the eel's waiting mouth, a strategy that would make for a perfect animation sequence for a signature move in a Pokémon battle. Even more impressively, when faced with large prey that might escape a single shock, electric eels employ a hunting technique called the volt tackle. Yes, seriously,
Nature named it before Pokémon did. The eel will leap partially out of the water to press its chin directly against a large animal drinking or waiting at the water's edge. This direct contact prevents the electricity from dissipating in the water, delivering the full voltage directly to the target, a real-life version of Pikachu's signature move. Like many Pokémon with powerful special attacks, the electric eel has physical limitations that balance its shocking capabilities. It's an obligate air breather that must surface every 10 minutes to gulp air, making it vulnerable during these moments. It also expends significant energy generating electricity, requiring rest periods between powerful discharges, similar to how powerful moves in Pokémon have limited PP. Electric eels can grow up to 8 feet long and weigh over 40 pounds, making them one of the largest electrical organisms on the planet. Their body design is specialized for their electrical abilities, with vital organs concentrated near the head and the rest of their elongated form dedicated to their electric organs, a biological layout that a Pokémon designer might create to emphasize function over conventional aesthetics. Young electric eels develop their shocking abilities gradually as they grow, starting with just 100 volts as juveniles, and reaching their full electrical potential as adults, a perfect parallel to how Pokémon gain stronger moves as they level up. Some researchers have even documented apparent training behavior, where young eels practice their electrical hunting techniques on smaller prey before tackling larger challenges. If electric eels were Pokémon, they'd likely be pure electric type with the ability Volt Absorb, or a new ability called Bioelectric, which would power up their electric moves when they're at low health, representing how real electric eels can deliver powerful shocks, even when exhausted as a last line of defense. Their signature move would surely be Bio-Discharge, an electric attack with a high chance of causing paralysis and increased accuracy against water types. Scientists are studying electric eels to develop better batteries, medical devices, and even treatments for conditions like epilepsy and chronic pain, mirroring how technologies in the Pokémon world are often inspired by Pokémon abilities. The electric eel proves that sometimes reality has already invented what fiction can only reimagine.
Number 10. The platypus, nature's evolutionary experiment. If you presented the design of a platypus to Game Freak without telling them it was a real animal, they'd probably send you back to the drawing board for creating a Pokémon that was too implausible. The duck-billed platypus, Ornithorhynchus anatinus, is essentially what you'd get if you asked an evolutionary algorithm to create a water poison dual type that breaks all the conventional rules of mammalian design. The platypus is one of only 5 extant species of monotremes, mammals that lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young. Yes, you read that correctly. This mammal lays eggs. If Pokémon evolution lines are supposed to represent natural progression, the platypus looks like nature decided to mix and match characteristics from reptiles, birds, and mammals all at once, then hit the save button on this bizarre creation. Let's start with its appearance, which early European naturalists thought was a hoax when the first specimen was sent to England. The platypus has a duck-like bill that is actually a soft, leathery electroreceptive organ packed with thousands of sensitive cells that can detect the minute electrical fields produced by the muscle movements of prey animals. This is essentially the same ability as the move signal beam or a built-in item finder, allowing them to hunt with their eyes, ears, and nose completely closed underwater. Its beaver-like tail stores fat reserves, while its otter-like feet are webbed for swimming but can also retract to reveal claws for digging burrows. Males have venomous spurs on their hind legs connected to venom glands, making the platypus one of the few venomous mammals in the world. This venom is strong enough to kill small animals and can cause excruciating pain in humans that can last for months. It's like nature created its own poison jab attack for a semi-aquatic mammal that already had enough unique features. The platypus doesn't just detect electricity, it also uses electrolocation to navigate murky waters where visibility is poor, similar to how certain electric-type Pokémon might be depicted sensing their environment through electrical fields. Their bills contain specialized electroreceptors called mucus glands that can detect changes in electrical fields as small as 50 nanovolts per centimeter, sensitive enough to locate a frog's heartbeat from underwater. When it comes to reproduction, the platypus becomes even more Pokémon-like in its strange biology. Females lay 1-3 small leathery eggs, like a reptile, which they incubate and hatch like a bird, and then secrete milk through specialized skin patches rather than nipples to nurse their young like a very weird mammal. If this were a Pokémon breeding mechanic, players would surely accuse the developers of being unnecessarily complicated. The platypus
platypus even has its own genetic mysteries. It possesses 10 sex chromosomes, most mammals have 2, and shares genes with birds, reptiles, and mammals in a unique combination found nowhere else in the animal kingdom. When scientists sequenced the platypus genome, they discovered that it has retained many ancestral features from the common ancestor of all mammals while also developing its own unique adaptations. In Pokémon terms, it would be like finding a modern species that somehow preserved characteristics from multiple different evolutionary branches. Their metabolic adaptations are equally impressive. Platypuses maintain a body temperature of about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, lower than most mammals but higher than reptiles, placing them in a unique intermediate position. They're also among the few mammals that can detect ultraviolet light, a trait more commonly found in birds, reptiles, and fish. These unusual features would translate to a diverse move pool spanning multiple Pokémon types. When swimming, platypuses close their eyes, ears, and nostrils completely, relying entirely on their electroreceptive bill to navigate and hunt, a specialized adaptation that would make for a unique Pokémon ability, perhaps called electrosense, that prevents accuracy drops from moves like sand attack or smokescreen. Despite their small size, typically 15 platters 20 inches long, platypuses consume about 20% of their body weight daily, hunting for up to 12 hours each day for freshwater invertebrates, making them surprisingly voracious predators. Their high metabolism and active hunting style would translate to high attack and special attack stats in the Pokémon world, though perhaps with lower defense to balance them out. The platypus is so evolutionarily distinct that it occupies its own family Ornithorhynchidae and genus Ornithorhynchus. In Australia, where these creatures are native, they were protected by law even before scientists fully understood how unique they were, an intuitive recognition of their special status that parallels how legendary Pokémon are often protected within their fictional ecosystems. If platypuses were Pokémon, they'd likely be water poison dual types with the signature move Venom Spur, a physical poison type attack with a high critical hit ratio. Their ability would be Electrosense, allowing them to ignore evasion increases and accuracy decreases. Scientists continue to study platypuses not just because of their unique characteristics, but because they offer a window into early mammalian evolution. Their genetic makeup helps researchers understand how mammals diverged from reptiles and developed their distinctive traits, a real-world evolutionary history that's every bit as fascinating as the fictional evolutionary lines in the Pokémon universe. The platypus reminds us that sometimes the most incredible Pokémon-like creatures aren't found in video games at all, but right here in our own world, products of evolution's strange and wonderful experiments that have been going on for millions of years longer than any human game design.